Hello everybody, welcome back to WorldComEDU Izistoryhaus series. My name is Brian Stuart. We're looking at a group storytelling project, a collaborative storytelling project in which each student or each child takes part of a story of 25 different world-famous stories in English literature, and they read these stories either from the book or from memory. So this is a very good project for kids to learn vocabulary and to practice vocabulary and the expressions, common expressions in which these vocabulary appear. Also, these stories, each one of them is an old story, like you could say folk tales, and they come from different languages. Of course, they're all translated into English. Most English kids learn these stories when they're growing up, and of course, kids all over the world in many different languages and cultures learn them as well. This story here that we're taking a look at is from the Grimm brothers. You've probably heard of them. They're very famous for collecting folktales, especially German folktales. And many movies and other books have been written about the stories that the Grimm brothers have taken. Now this story is interesting. It's called The Wonderful Musician. And each one of these stories has a moral or a lesson, a life lesson to it. Now, this one is a little bit complicated and it can get pretty deep. Okay, this is a story about a musician who's going through the woods and he gets bored and he plays his fiddle or his violin to attract a companion. And he attracts 3 different animals before he decides that he doesn't want each one of the animals, right? He finally waits until he attracts another person, a human being. So what is the moral of the story? Well, the animals could represent different feelings that we have when we get bored or we're not sure what to do. For example, like the wolf might represent greed, the fox might represent cunning or trickery, and the hare or the rabbit might represent fear. And the musician overcomes all of these emotions. And how does he do that? By attracting another human being who represents the rational side of our subconscious. Like I said, it can be a very deep moral lesson to the story. But anyway, let's see what happens. Okay, the story is much simpler than that, and we can just read the story as well and just enjoy it as it is. So let's take a look.
Page 2. This is the story of a wonderful musician. The musician lives in the forest. He likes to think and think. One day he says, I am going to find a good friend for myself. He takes his fiddle from his bag. He plays the fiddle and music sound through the trees. A wolf comes through the bushes. The musician says, "Ah, here come the wolf, but I don't want him." The wolf comes up to the musician. The wolf comes closer and closer. The wolf says to the musician, "What beautiful music! Teach me how to play such beautiful music." The musician says, "Follow me."
Page 5. The musician takes the wolf to an old oak tree. There is a hole in the oak tree. The magician says, "Look, here is the oak tree. Put your feet into this hole." The wolf says, "Okay." The magician quickly puts the stone over the wolf's feet. The wolf can't move. The magician says to the wolf, "Stay here until I come back." The magician leaves the wolf. He is walking through the forest. He is thinking and thinking. He says, "I am going to find another friend." Page 7. The musician takes his fiddle from his bag. He plays the fiddle and the music sounds through the trees. A fox comes through the trees. The musician says, "Ah, here comes the fox. But I don't want him." The fox comes up to the musician. He comes closer and closer. He says to the musician, "What beautiful music! Teach me how to play such beautiful music." The musician says, "Follow me."
Page 9. The magician and fox walk through the forest. They arrive at a footpath with high bushes on each side. The magician says to the fox, "Give me your left foot." He ties the left foot to the bushes. The magician says to the fox, "Give me your right foot." He ties the right foot to the bushes. The fox cannot move. The magician says, "Stay here until I come back." The magician leaves the fox. He is walking through the forest. He is thinking and thinking. He says, "I am going to find another friend." Page 11. The magician takes his fiddle from his bag. He plays the fiddle and music sounds through the trees. A little hare is springing towards him. The magician says, "Ah, here comes the hare, but I don't want him." The hare comes up to the magician. He comes closer and closer. He says to the magician, "What beautiful music! Teach me how to play such beautiful music." The magician says, "Follow me." The magician and hare walk through the forest. They arrive at an open space in the forest. There is a tree in the open space. The magician ties a long string around the hare's neck. He ties the other end to the tree. Page 14. The musician says, "Now, little hare, run 20 times around the tree." The little hare says, "Okay." The hare runs 20 times around the tree. The hare cannot move. The musician says to the hare, "Stay here until I come back." The wolf pushes and pulls the stone. He pulls his feet out of the hole. He is now free. He is angry and runs after the musician. The fox sees him and says, "Brother Wolf, help me please." Page 16. So the wolf helps the fox. The wolf and fox run after the magician.
The hare sees them and says, "Brother Wolf, Brother Fox, help me please." So the wolf and fox help the hare. The wolf, fox, and hare run after the magician. The magician is playing his fiddle. A poor woodcutter listens to the music. He comes up to the magician. The magician says, "Here is my friend."
Page 18. The wolf, fox, and hare find the magician. They rush at the magician. But the woodcutter stands before the magician. The wolf, fox, and hare are afraid. They run back into the forest. The magician never sees them again. The magician is grateful to the woodcutter. He played one last beautiful song for the woodcutter. The magician leaves the woodcutter. The magician goes back to the forest.